Mariner, you gotta get me out of here. They keep showing me lights.
No, I am still mad at you.
Wait, for going to the Titan, but you knew I wanted to get a promotion. You're supposed to be my mentor.
You snuck off in the middle of my shift without saying goodbye. You know who my best friend is now? My mom. It sucks. It's like work.
Look, I'm a hologram, okay? I'm sure real Boimler had his reasons. I don't know, maybe did you ever intimidate him?
What? No, shut up.
No, Mariner.
Welcome, everybody, to Deep Space Pride, a gay Star Trek podcast. My name is Mike. I am one of your hosts, and with me is my co-host, Johnson.
Hey,
Johnson,
Mike.
how are you?
Oh, hi. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little tired still.
You're tired.
Yeah. How has your reintegration to work and life been?
Oh, it's been fine. Monday was like insane, but I'm fine. I survived. It is Thursday. It's almost Friday. So I'm good. Yeah. I mean, this whole week has been just like crazy and drowning, but it's fine. What about you?
Yeah, it's been a busy week. We've had a couple of dinners.
That's right. We saw each other yesterday.
We were recording Thursday night because we were all out to dinner with our friend Tony for his birthday last night.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are on a Thursday night recording.
I was very rambunctious.
You were. Yes.
Yes, I brought the energy to the table.
Which does not faze me as much anymore.
After living with me for like basically 5 days.
Yeah, after being in Vegas with you for 5 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, yeah, I'm anxious. I don't really have a whole lot of off time, but tomorrow I'm gonna rest and relax.
Oh, how lucky. Wait, you're gonna take the day off?
Mostly, yes.
Oh, nice for you.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna work on Sunday. I always work on Saturday mornings, so it's not like sort of my one day, but again, I actually can't really sleep in because I'm gonna go get a COVID test in the morning, so.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
Godspeed.
I mean, my at-home COVID test yesterday came out negative, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just like to be responsible, especially, it's been 4 days since we've been back from Vegas, and I feel fine other than just tired, which isn't related really to anything. Just, I haven't been sleeping well, which,
right. Yeah. My sleep has also been spotty since coming back. I'm not jet lagged, but something is like, I'm better now, but the first couple of days were like a little off.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we got back late. We lost a couple of hours. That first night, I don't think my body knew what day of the week it was or where I was. But
we're here. Yeah. We're back.
Yeah, we're back. We're going to talk about our experience at Vegas.
Correct.
And we're also going to talk about Lower Decks season premiere.
That's
Strange
correct.
Energies. So we're excited. We have new Star Trek to talk about, and we have some convention experiences to talk about. So
yeah, why don't we start with the convention?
Yeah, let's do that. So we talked a little bit about, obviously everyone who's seen us has asked us what some of our favorite parts of the convention were. So I was surprised to learn your favorite part last night at dinner. Yeah. So why don't you share with our listeners what your favorite part of
should we talk about, I want to talk about the convention as a whole.
Oh yeah, sure.
So of course I can talk about my favorite part. So you already know my grade for the convention.
Yeah, we'll talk about grades at the end. I mean,
the end. You want me to save it to the end?
Yeah, let's talk about the grades at the end. But let's start with like our highlights for the for the convention.
So funnily enough, my favorite part slash highlight of the convention was the vendors room, which is surprising to some of our longtime listeners because I'm just not. I'm not a buyer of things.
You're not a
As you know,
collector.
I'm not a collector by any means. I actively avoid collecting. I hate things. So usually having going to a vendor's room is probably not something that I would be like, oh, let's go, but I do have to say that what I really did like about the vendor's room, other than the fact that Fancest was there, and it was nice to see all the guys. I would say that it was just, well, first of all, it's insane. We've never been to a convention. I've never been to any sort of convention, not like Comic-Con or anything like that.
Right. We've never been to a Star Trek convention.
Yeah. So this is my first convention and my first Star Trek convention. So it was just like incredible to see how much merchandise there is. And obviously there are other franchises that probably have more. But for me, it was just a blast from the past. Like all these people had all these things that I had when I was a young Star Trek fan, whether it be like all these like pocketbooks of like various Star Trek novels, or I think I mentioned it once, but like on this podcast, but I was at some point I was an avid collector of the Star Trek collectible card game, which for those of you that don't know, it's similar to like Magic, but it's all Star Trek themed. And I used to play a lot of that when I was in junior high school. So I used to like spend a lot of money actually collecting these cards. So I saw a lot of that at the convention. And then it was just like very, I'm not a sentimental person by any means, but it was very nostalgic. It was like very like, oh my God, like, these books, these cards, the stuff, these magazines, like, we used to collect different magazines, but the Star Trek Communicator, like things like that. It was just like, oh my God, all this shit, So it was nice. It was nice to kind of like see that. I still have like all that shit back at home at my parents' place. And just kind of like seeing it all there. Of course, I didn't buy anything, but just seeing it all there, it was like kind of cool. And honestly, just seeing how much stuff all these vendors, a lot of the stuff they've collected themselves and now they're selling. And it's just like, I can see how they would have like a whole garage full of boxes of all of these things. And it's just kind of amazing that honestly, these people just collect this much crap. But, again, very, very nostalgic in many ways. But I would say that was probably my favorite thing. Like one of the standouts from the convention. Panel wise, I'm trying to think of my favorite panel. It was I'm trying to think. I'm trying to sort through in my mind palace all the panels that weren't as good. I think my favorite one was probably the Women of Deep Space Nine one, primarily because the Nav visitor was able to zoom in. I was like, oh, Nav's here. That was exciting. I was excited to like see her, even though she wasn't there like physically. I wish they actually did that with more panelists. I think that would have been more interesting. But there weren't.
Yeah, I don't understand why that didn't happen. But a lot of
because we only had at least the panels we were at. There was Michelle Hurd, and then there was the Na, and then I was like, oh, that's it. Most of the other ones they didn't. They could. I feel they could have, but they didn't. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I would say that those are the highlights for me. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy that panel. I did enjoy the Picard panel before that one.
No, that's all right.
I think it's awesome to see these new young actors and their first acting jobs and meeting Patrick Stewart and hearing about that experience and how the cast looks at Picard, especially Patrick. Sir Patrick looks at the series Picard as an ensemble, not as a
Mhm.
a singular lead show. So
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. I loved hearing about their experiences first meeting him and just acting. I thought they really Issa's story about how she developed the three characters that she played
Mhm.
evolved over time. I mean, I think that that was really cool. So I really enjoyed that one. I enjoyed the Women of Deep Space Nine. Definitely some, yeah, Nana. It was great to see her even by Zoom. I wish she had been
Yeah.
there. If she had been there, I think we would have probably gotten a picture with her.
Oh my God.
So
She's so great. I love
that
her.
would have been awesome. So yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoyed those. I enjoyed Oded and who was with Oded? Jane
Um,
Brooke.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and
Cornwell, Admiral Cornwell.
and the woman who plays the voice of Discovery. I really enjoyed. I think Oded just is an awesome guy. First of all, but he's also a Star Trek fan.
He's a fan. Yeah, that was cool.
He shared about how his first time seeing the Discovery Bridge, and he
Hmm.
called his wife, and she thought he was talking about some bridge, like physical bridge that you cross over or whatever.
Right.
So none of his family is are fans. So I really enjoyed hearing him. Jane Brooke is just an awesome actress and entertainer herself.
Hmm.
So it was great to hear from her. I actually forgot that Oded was in The Mummy. Um, he's the
Oh yeah,
bad guy.
I did not remember that.
Yeah,
Like, wait, was it the Mummy or the Scorpion King?
maybe it was the Scorpion King. I
I
get
don't
them all
remember.
confused, but
It was a
I
long.
think
That was a long time ago.
yeah. So that was really enjoyable. I actually was really impressed with Walter Koenig because he just ran from end to end to interact with the fans.
Oh
So of
yes.
this big stage, he got up, he didn't stay seated. I thought that was really good. I mean, all the the big stars were there that actually came were all of the original
Yeah. Well, serious.
series. George Takei, who we got a
Decay.
pick. Takei. Oh gosh, I still say that. Takei. I got to remember 2K and
Oh
say
my God.
Takei.
Decay.
He was good. I had specific issues with the interviewer for him, but that's another story.
Oh my
Um,
God.
so I think what I do want to say something about it. I won't call that person out by name, but I will say that as an interviewer at a convention, this is my feedback to anyone who might be listening, who might someday be on stage interviewing someone in front of a large group or even a small group. The interview is not about you, and the interview is about the person you're interviewing, and that's your
Yeah.
job as an interviewer to bring out stories from the person and highlight
I didn't like
them.
any of the moderators, to be honest.
Yeah, but that particular one really irritated me because
I know. You were definitely irritated. You had a lot of commentary to me, and
I
I mean, I
did.
didn't like any of them, so it was all kind of like just baseline for me. But
Yeah,
that one in
no, that
particular
one
did irritate
really
you.
irritated me because
I was there. I noticed.
it's just so yeah. So my advice to any interviewer, future, past, present, whatever, it's about the star or the person you're interviewing, not about you.
Correct.
And give the audience as much time as you can with that star is my feedback. So I think that would be my advice for all of these. I mean, there are some questions that kind of get things going, but
Hmm.
and hand it off to the fans. I mean, the fans are the ones who paid to be there and paid to see these people. So it's about these people. No one came to see these moderators, to be honest.
Yeah.
So that is my feedback on that. I thought it was
Some of your
cool.
notes.
Those are my notes. Yes.
Notes.
I have other notes, but
I have many notes.
um But I enjoyed the 5 seconds we had with George Takei.
Oh my God, it was like very brief.
Yeah, I mean, and it was so brief that he was making the Vulcan salute sign, which he always does,
Hmm.
and we did nothing. We just stood there. I mean, the picture is good, but we didn't do anything because we literally walked in, had 2 seconds to process the experience,
Right.
turn, face the camera, and then get ushered out. It was the quickest photo op I have ever been in.
I've been
And
in many.
I didn't like, I didn't even get, fortunately, I didn't even get to have the moment of deer in headlights because it was so quick.
It was really fast. It was like a little bit too assembly line for me. I mean, it's not like I need to have a conversation with the guy. I get it, but at least give us like a few more seconds. It was like literally 5 seconds.
Yeah, it
Like
really
that's not
was.
even
It
exaggeration.
wasn't,
They were just
uh,
trying to get people in and out as quickly as possible.
yeah.
It was just like really fast.
And I mean, I get it, but I also I quite honestly, I was starstruck. I don't think I've ever been that close to George Takei.
Oh.
It was cool to see him. He smiled at you when you walked in,
Hmm.
which was really awesome. I hope I smiled back. I don't even know.
I
I'm
was just trying
sure.
to get into place. I didn't even look at him.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just, but anyway, I am I'm hoping that I can figure out a way to reach out to George and see if he would come on our podcast and talk to us.
Sure. It's worth a try.
Um, so that was a highlight. I'm trying to think of anything else. Well, I enjoyed the vendors room, but I enjoyed really meeting our sponsors, Fansets, in person.
Fansets.
John and Lou are awesome. We had a great time talking with them and seeing
Mm-hmm.
them and everyone who works with them.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Laureen and Emily, or um, so it was just really great to meet them, and they
Mm-hmm.
are so nice and such great guys, such a great company, and I picked up a few pins.
You did. And I bought you a few pins.
You bought me a few pins, and
Yeah.
they're already in the pin board, but I have pictures of them, so I'll put them up on
Wait, how
social.
many pins did you get in total?
Total, I got 12, no, 10 pins.
Okay.
So 10 pins total, which included the Fan Geeks Party one, which would have been given out in the Fan
Mm-hmm.
Geeks Party Friday night, but because that
But
was
that did not
canceled,
happen.
that did not
Yeah.
happen.
Mm-hmm.
I fortunately, you asked on the second day that we were back there if they had any Discovery badges, and they did.
I know.
So that was super
You're
exciting.
welcome.
And then I saw today on social, I had opened up Twitter for half a second.
Uh-huh.
I try not to jump into that pool too often because it's like
It's a
just
cesspool.
it's a cesspool. But I see that they are possibly doing a Wrath of Khan, or they have a Wrath of Khan badge coming out, which is
Okay.
pretty cool.
Right.
So I'm excited about that. But I picked up some new ones. I picked up Michael Burnham in her season 3, end of season 3 uniform. I picked up Guinan. Both of
Mm-hmm.
those are going to be available on Fansets soon. And yeah, I picked up a few others.
Yeah.
A Jerry Ryan one, which is really
Huge.
awesome, huge, and
Large.
gorgeous. I got a Nana visitor pin and a number 1 pin. So a lot of
Number one
everything.
pin. What number one pin? The dog?
No. Number one from Strange New Worlds.
Oh, okay.
From Women of Trek, their Women of Trek series. So yeah. So my Women of Treks
That number one. Mm-hmm.
got expanded as well. I'm trying to think if there. Oh, and I got an IDIC pin, which I really like as well.
That's right.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun. So huge shout out for this one. The other part of this whole experience was meeting other people from our network in person.
Yes, definitely.
And
that was
a lot of
fun.
fun. Meeting Mike and Jamie from the Divine Treasury. and also meeting
Sabrina and
Yvette
Vet.
and Sabrina. Yeah. And I also get to meet Fran, who's also another sci-fi sister, on Sunday on the panel.
That's right. That's right. The panel that I did not participate in.
No, but I did.
That I opted out of.
You opted out, yes.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't care.
You do social media for your full-time job.
Well, I also saw this trip as a vacation, and the last
Right.
thing I wanted was to think
Yeah,
about any presentation, anything work related. I'm like, no.
Yeah, no,
So-
totally understandable. So no, I represented us on this panel about social media
And there were
community
plenty of people on stage. I was like,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
enough representation.
There was.
Here.
Yep.
So,
There was a
totally
good number of people on the stage. So we probably could have talked for another hour. But it was an hour. It was a 45-minute panel or something.
Yeah,
like
45
that.
minutes.
So that was also fun. I enjoyed that, and then had to quickly say my goodbyes, and then run back to the
And
room,
ran to the airport. Yeah.
and then we ran to the airport, and we got
It's
through
fine. It's
security
fine.
really quickly.
It was
Yeah,
fast.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
was
was fast.
super fast. So everything went really smoothly. The flight home felt a little crowded, and
Just a little bit,
yeah,
but it's okay.
but we made it back.
We survived. We made it back.
Yeah.
And there were no big delays on this trip, unlike your last trip.
Right, and also got to meet up with one of my friends who lives in Las Vegas, Michael, and his husband Javier. So that was fun. That was a nice distraction from the conference as well, the convention.
Right.
So that was fun catching up with them as well. So yeah, it was a good trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got along. We travel well together.
Yeah, it was
apparently.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had no issues. There was some screaming, but that's par for the course.
Yeah, it's sort of, I really felt like it was sort of like Boimler screaming,
Basically.
I felt like Mariner and just hearing the screams, and then I only really responded to the screams when they were like slightly higher pitched and maybe there was more associated noise, but other than that,
yeah, we totally got along. It's totally fine.
We did.
I mean, this is the first time we traveled together like one-on-one, so
yeah,
it was uncertain how it would go, but it was really fine.
Yeah, it was good. So good trip. Yeah, definitely. What you have something else?
No, we were gonna give it a grade.
Oh yeah. So what would you grade it? And do you want to give it? Do you want to give it a couple of reasons why you give it a C plus?
You think I'm just gonna leave it at C plus? I'm ready to rattle off my notes. So overall,
well, maybe just choose a few notes.
Yeah, just
not all of the notes.
The lady doc protests too much, but I did not like the conference. Overall, yes, there are a few highlights, but overall, I just I thought it was not great. Like, it was just overall like. Well, first of all, I think that not having the Paramount CBS sign of approval and having the license is really impacted the whole experience.
Yes.
They couldn't have any Star Trek signage. There was this weird emblem that they were using that I don't know. There's some mythology behind it. I don't know what it was. There was just it was kind of just like a sci-fi conference that was like Star Trek oriented, essentially, for all intents and purposes. I mentioned this to you, because they're not ordained by Paramount CBS, there are no big announcements, there are no trailers, no big surprises, which I think, it's not that necessarily makes the conference, but that kind of surprise and delight from, the official brand is always something that is interesting. Even seeing conferences remotely, even though we haven't been to any, those surprise announcements, surprise guest appearances, it's like, what? It's even when they announced Picard a few years ago, 2 years ago, I don't remember. It's all a blur. That was a total mind fuck. I was like, what? And even if I was there, I would be like, oh my God, get me out, in a good way.
Yeah.
So there were none of those kind of moments.
Yep.
And then obviously the pandemic put a damper on things, so a lot of people couldn't make it. A lot of people had to like pull out. A lot of the folks that we wanted to see couldn't go. There was a definite lack of A-listers. Other than, yes, the original TOS cast. Who, you know, again, I'm not the biggest TOS fan, so it was fine seeing them. Georgia K, I didn't really feel anything like, you know, even seeing him for some odd reason. It was fine. It was fine, you know, but like basically there's no representation from TNG except for Denise Crosby, right? Was there anyone else? No,
No.
there was no one else. So yeah, there was just like, you know, like between the pandemic and the fact that it is not Star Trek licensed, and some folks had to go last minute to Toronto for last minute Discovery season 4 shoots. Like it was like, all right. And then overall, it just felt very bloated. I do not enjoy the panels where they are interviewing people that appeared in one episode 25 years ago. I think those are dumb. It's just like a complete, you know, like the Vorto one, right? Like Jeffrey Combs, great. You know, Jeffrey Combs is awesome. But then there are like these 3 other people on stage with him that were like, yeah, I was in one episode. I'm like, why are you here? Why am I listening to you? I just don't care. I don't care. And honestly, there were a lot of panels like that were like just like very BC list. Star Trek BC list, which is basically DEE list, you know, like people that don't work anymore. Like Molly O'Brien. I'm like, why the fuck is Molly O'Brien on stage? She was like, she was asked questions. She was like, yeah, I was a kid, you know. I'm like, oh my God, like, why is she here? Like, why is she on a panel? Respectfully, that was the Women of DS9 panel, but and everyone else on stage, including the non-visitor, was great. But then I was like, why is Molly O'Brien here? Like, there was just like things like that just made it feel very bloated, and there was just like so much fat to it. It didn't have to be 5 days. Like I just have so many complaints. So I'm glad that the Star Trek Mission Chicago conference is only 3 days. I think that it's going to be a lot. Hopefully, I'm hoping that's a lot tighter, a lot more condensed. And honestly, like I think it would feel better if there's like it's more eventized in the sense that, you know, they're more spectacular. It's like you have, you know, it's quality versus quantity. You know what I mean? And I feel that this conference was quantity over quality. You just had like, because they had to fill all these gaps that these A-listers left. Plus, you know, I think you and I I know you have some thoughts about like how they can make the conference more intimate. Like it just didn't, I don't know. Like obviously it was great to see other folks from Trek Geeks, but moments like that or opportunities like that were few and far between and not well facilitated. So in any case, yes, those are my 3 major points about the conference, and this is why I gave it. Initially, it was like B-. I told you it was B and a-, but then on Saturday, I changed to C+ because the panels were so terrible. I was just like, no, I'm deducting like a grade. So in any case, those are my thoughts. I don't need to go back next year.
No, I hear you on a lot of those things, and I agree with you. You know, I give it a B-.
Okay, you went up a little bit. You were originally like a C.
I went up a little. Yeah, I went up a little bit. I agree that it felt bloated. I agree that there was a definite bloatedness, and you know, 5 days is a lot of time, and for not a lot of A-listers, you know,
it doesn't need to be 5 days.
Yeah, I just felt that there was a lot of filler there, but I did enjoy more of the panels than you. I didn't mind some of the lesser known people simply because they were on stage with the other characters, and they got some questions, but they weren't a major focus of it. So that was fine. I
I mean, we
also
didn't go to a lot of panels, by the way. Like there were a
no, we
lot,
didn't. No, we went to
and the
the
panels that we went to were probably more like there was more to them. So
yes,
yes, but there
yeah.
were like many other panels that were like even more fillerish.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we didn't. I wouldn't say that each of our days was filled with
Not at
going to
all.
these things.
No. I think on
So
average we probably went to like there were a couple of days where we went to like two conferences, like two panels rather,
panels, yeah,
and
yeah.
maybe three.
Yep. No, it was. Yeah, it was kind of and because of COVID, and all of the cancellations, also the cancellations included the, vendors. The vendors room felt
Mm-hmm.
very, very sparse. I mean, so this was my first Star Trek convention. I don't know whether this is a problem or not, but having been to 4 or 5 New York Comic Cons,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I have to compare it to.
Sure.
And Comic Con is 4 days. And for Comic Con, I went for the vendors room because the vendors room there is enormous,
Right. Right.
and there's always more to see there. It
Mm-hmm.
is a filled. And then
Oh
there's
yeah.
Artist Alley, and then there's also the panels. And I picked and choose the panels for when I've gone to Comic Con. I would probably pick one or maybe two a day, but you were in a long line waiting for these, but they did have you queue up way in advance as well. So
Sure.
it's definitely run differently. Reed Pop, pretty sure, is running Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and
Yep.
Repop does New York Comic Con, and they run it really efficiently and really well. So I think that this is going to be a much different experience in Chicago for that. And also, we've already got 4 stars who are committed to going. Catherine Janeway, Kate Mulgrew,
That is her name.
Rafi, Michelle Hurd, Will Wheaton, and Anthony Rapp just announced that he's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
So already you have, and by the way, Anthony Rapp was there on the last day in the afternoon that we were there. They were going to be on stage at 2. Our flight was at 3, so
Yeah,
we
there's no
totally
way.
missed, and we got there partway through Wednesday that we missed the first.
We missed some Pride stuff.
We missed some Pride stuff on the first day, and we missed the first Discovery panel, which was like Patrick, and I actually don't even know. I think David Tomlinson was on there. Like I can't remember who the other 2 people were. Oh, the person. Janet Kidder was on that panel, and also the woman who plays the Vulcan leader, the Navarre leader. But
Oh,
she's
I don't
she's
know.
actually the one that got called back to
Yeah, you're right.
Toronto
Yeah,
from
she did get
from
called
our
back.
filming. So that
Mm-hmm.
was even as we kind of got there. So we didn't really get to see that. And then also on the last day was Enterprise. It was basically an Enterprise and Discovery day. But again, I think that the big thing for us, I think it would have been a completely different experience if the Next Generation crew was there,
Mm-hmm.
the cast, and that there were some Next Generation panels, and there was nothing. And I think that that's probably the most disappointing part for us as our first time Star Trek convention. Next Generation is sort of our Star Trek, and even though I grew up watching some TOS, Next Generation was really when my fandom got going. Even though I did love TOS as a younger kid, but and watched it with my uncle, but and read the novels, the pocket novels. But my fandom I would say, really kicked off even more when Next Generation came on.
Right,
And there were
right, for sure.
magazines and figures and like a little bit more toys and things like that. But anyway, so that was really disappointing. I want to touch on, I think, the intimacy factor here. I think, first of all, I think that conventions need to offer spaces and facilitators for meeting people,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you consider the fact that most people who kind of are in fandom in this way are looking for community. Certainly, our are probably on average more introverted than extroverted. So that's where the facilitation comes in. It needs to be a smaller room, not with a lot of music. Yes, you can have some drinks or whatever, but I just think there needs to be something along that. And I think you need to do it consistently. I also really felt it was, I mean, I'm just going to be honest. I felt it was really insensitive to have Pride and Truck Day be the very first day. And the reason why I think that is because why I feel that way is because, you and I are, we do well in our jobs and in our life. But some people scrounge and save for this whole thing and can come on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Certainly like people in the LGBTQ community and POC community, a lot of them really can't take 5 days off for a convention.
Sure.
And so, in my opinion, having the Pride and Truck Day be that very first day, I think was sort of insensitive and just not well thought out at all. So, that was, we got there. There was also some miscommunication about the time that it was at. And, again, when we walked in, it was just there was someone on stage. I don't even remember what was going on, but it just did not
confusing.
It was confusing. It did not seem like it was really an event for, meetup. So I think that there needs to be spaces for different meetups. I think there needs to be facilitators for those meetups, and so that people can get to know one another. And I think it needs to take into account that LGBTQ and POC people may not be there at the beginning of in the middle of the week, for the most part. So I think that's one of my biggest things is that and just helping people meet people, even even if it's just for a short time. Yeah, mixers can be uncomfortable, especially for
well, that's why it needs to be facilitated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So there's that. So that's my other biggest complaint. I'd like to see some more diversity in events and things going on, but also just something to help fans build community. So that's really why I give it a B-. But I think, as I've been talking this out, I think that the lack of that and the lack of the next generation cast being there, they all weren't. Patrick was never coming, but Jonathan, LeVar, Gates, Brent all backed out.
Right.
Denise was there in the vendors room, but so yeah, I just that's why I think I think it just needs to I think it needs something new to kind of bring life to it. But I think also that the fact that they lost the licensing is the biggest factor to that.
No, it definitely had an impact. Even not like I've been to past social conferences, but you felt that it felt like less legit. That's the problem.
Yeah,
it felt like a fan conference, like fan run conference. So
yeah, and actually I believe that probably some fan run conferences are much tighter and much better.
Maybe.
So anyway, but I there were some good moments. We did have a good time. We made the best of it and had a good time on those things that we loved. And the other times we went out to eat and we just took our time and
it's fine,
relaxed, and that was fine too. So yeah,
we got to sleep late. It was nice.
Yeah, that was nice too. Yeah. So all right, well, I think that's enough on the convention. If you do have any questions out there, dear listeners, and want to know more about what we shared about the convention, definitely shoot us an email at deepspacepride@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Instagram or
Twitter.
Thank you. Wow. At Deep Space Pride. So
good job.
Thanks. All right, let's get into talking about Lower Decks.
Yes, let's do it.
Looks like you took a full load of strange energy straight to the cortex.
What is strange energy, Doctor?
Electrical phenomena with unknown properties. It can have all sorts of physical effects, unlock parts of the brain, even endow godlike powers.
Humanity has a complicated relationship with organized religion.
Well, strange energies doesn't. Ever hear of Gary Mitchell? Oh, it got real weird real fast.
Oh! Those energies weren't that strange. I'm fine. Now unhand me! I must rise!
And he's hovering. I think he might be going godlike on us.
So Strange Energies, episode 1. We joined back up with the crew of the Cerritos.
Yeah.
I think it's 3 months later after the finale.
It's like 2 or 3 months later. I need to rewatch the episode again. I'm pretty sure it's 2 or 3 months, whatever.
Yeah. So we get to watch it on the morning it came out in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
we watched it in our room
on our Starbucks venti cold brew coffees.
Yes, we were doing that.
That was one thing I look forward to every morning.
Yeah.
That was also a highlight.
Our coffee was definitely a highlight of the mornings.
Yeah. But yeah, we basically joined them like 2 or 3 months later. Life has kind of settled back down to routine, except Boimler's not there, and we don't get to see Boimler.
Definitely missed Boimler, although you get a quick view of him at the beginning and at the end of the episode. But I have to say that right before we recorded, I watched the opening scene again, and I just love the opening scene. I mean,
the breakout from the Kardashian prison. I mean, it's like so much throwback, you know?
Yeah.
I love it. A lot to Chain of Command.
Yeah, shout out to Chain of Command and Boimler being tied up and said they keep on showing me lights.
Yeah.
Mariner basically driving a Miranda class starship.
Yeah. That was honestly brought to life really well.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, they did a really good job.
The bridge animation was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was so well done that I heard on another podcast, actually, Drawn to Trek. I did listen to that. So Drawn to Trek. So Aaron Harvey and Jess, who we met on that panel, on that live stream months ago at the end of June. They are doing a Drawn to Trek, and they reviewed the first episode, and I listened to most of it. I think I didn't get around to finishing it, but the one thing about the Miranda class that I paid attention to this time was that it's called the USS Macduff.
Oh, okay. I didn't see them.
It's a Miranda class starship, and then there are a bunch of starships. I didn't spend time like figuring out one. I guess there were some Delta Flyers.
Okay.
There was some other ships, Jem'Hadar ships or whatever.
Wow.
There are a lot. I mean, if you freeze framed each moment of that episode, of that opening, you could probably pick out a bunch of different ships.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot stuffed in there. I mean, it was like a ship graveyard. There were a lot of ships.
It was a ship graveyard, but I just enjoyed that. I enjoyed her banter with the Cardassian. I was slightly disappointed that it was a holodeck program.
I know. Yeah. I mean, like when we were first watching it and Boimler says, "I'm a hologram," I was like, wait, did he just say he's a hologram?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, this is a holodeck.
Yeah, I was a little bummed about that. I thought it would be cool if she was on a mission and went to save Boimler or something, and that it would have been fun to see how that plays out. But yeah, so and then the other part of this beginning part is like she has to freeze the program because someone buzzes the holodeck, and it's Jennifer the Andorian who she shouts at the end of the season finale. She's leaving Boimler a message on the Titan, and Jennifer says, "Hey, can you be quiet?" And she's like, "Shut up, Jennifer." So
I don't remember that.
Yeah, we get to see
funny.
See Jennifer the Andorian in this episode interrupt her holodeck program, and everything's kind of frozen. The Cardassian's mouth is kind of frozen open. So it was, it was just a fun opening. And then we kind of go into this again, second contact mission
Mm-hmm.
which is what the Cerritos does.
It's their specialty.
It is.
Yeah, I liked, so there was like A plot, B plot. I'm trying to think which one's so B plot is Tendi and Rutherford. A plot is Ransom and his ascension to Gary Mitchell godlikeness. Um,
Yes.
and yeah, like I thought it was good. I mean, like, I love the Gary Mitchell call out and like the infographic on the view
On the
screen.
screen. Yep. There was also on the doctor's pad as well.
Oh, was it? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. That's funny. Um, but the whole catalyst to that is the the whole thing just between Mariner and her mom and just how we've seen their relationship change a little bit from last season to this season, and they're kind of trying to make it work, and it's kind of working, but is it working? And it's like it's basically the impetus for like the whole comedy of errors essentially that this episode is,
Yeah.
which I liked. I like to call back to where No Man Has Gone Before, and that whole the whole thing with Ransom. I think it went on for a little bit too long, like the gags with Ransom, maybe a little bit. But it was still enjoyable. I mean, like it was still fun to watch. And the big giant floating head, that's such a Star Trek thing, like it's always like a trope. And then and Tendi, I adore Tendi. Tendi is so like I really relate to Boimler, obviously, and Tendi's absolute fixation. Like when she fixates on something, she can't stop. And I totally relate to that. Like I totally get it. And she's just so, it comes from a good place and she's very sweet, but she always goes overboard. I totally understand.
Yeah, she goes a bit crazy in this episode, and yeah, I actually think that went on a little bit too long as well. I think that I thought that was a little bit much.
You know what? One thing I realized, I missed Boimler in this episode.
Yeah.
There was something lacking. There was something like missing in the dynamics of it all.
Yep.
Because usually, like at least in last season 1, we have like Mariner and Boimler going at it, and then Tendi and Rutherford going at it. And there was something a little bit off with Boimler not being there and us not seeing him till like basically the very end.
Yeah.
So
I don't think
I was trying to put my finger on it. I was like, something's missing, and then I was like, Boimler's missing.
Yeah, I think that Ransom kind of played into, I loved Mariner. I thought she was a little disrespectful to Ransom.
That's nothing new.
No, I know, but it was just it felt a little bit more escalated, like, which is the impetus for the whole thing. Like Ransom felt undermined as first officer, so when he got these powers, he wanted to take over, and then he wanted to take over the ship, and but it also brings out the fact that neither Carol nor Beckett really are enjoying their dynamic, and so that comes out through this whole experience. But Mariner's solution is the right solution, like to basically kick him in the neutral zone, as they said. And every time
she's always right, though. She's right like 90% of the time.
Yeah. So I enjoyed that, but yeah, I agree that there was something missing, and I think things were like sort of drawn out a little too much, too long. But yeah, a lot of, and also with the Tendi and Rutherford piece, it did feel like going over the same ground as last year.
Yeah.
It just And I like her obsessiveness, but also like the whole thing about the pears and like she did like he's dating the Trill
I don't remember her
again.
name.
Yeah, I don't remember
Trill, I
her
don't
name
remember.
either. It just felt like it, going over over the same ground. And I understand it's because Rutherford has no memory of what has happened before. So there's that piece. So yeah, I just I enjoyed it, but I felt that it was lacking and just a little bit too long in some parts and a little bit too repetitive. But the
Yeah.
opening sequence was just awesome.
Right.
Hearing Boimler scream at the end on the Titan, which we'll get to see next week in the second
Yeah.
episode.
I watched 10 minutes of episode 2. I did
Yeah,
not really have a chance.
so
I didn't have a finish
there's
today.
yeah, so we'll talk about that next week, but yeah, I definitely long for Boimler to return and the dynamic to return to the four of them
Mm-hmm.
and the trouble that they get themselves into. So I'm excited to see where that goes.
Even
Uh,
episode 2, I haven't finished the whole thing, but we definitely see more Boimler. I'm like, oh, I miss him.
yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's this, something that was missing in episode 1 with him not there.
Yeah.
And even though in episode 2 he's not with them, I'm like, oh, you know, like it's just nice to have him back.
But he's the same Boimler.
It's the same. It's the same.
So yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So kudos to Mike McMahon, another great job. They're already working on season 3 and we've just started season 2, so clearly it's a huge success and there's more of it coming. And we've got 9 more episodes to go. And then we still have not been told.
I know, I'm surprised
next?
that they haven't said anything. I am 99% sure though that's gonna be Prodigy next.
Well, we'll find out. I guess I can't remember when First Contact Day is. No, it's not First Contact Day.
First
It's
Contact Day. Oh, Star Trek Day?
Star Trek Day.
There is a Star Trek Day. What is Star Trek Day? Like,
I don't remember.
I heard of it. I've heard of it. I don't even know what's supposed to celebrate.
I don't remember either.
All right,
So there's
well, there
something
we are.
coming up, I think, in September. Maybe it's Star Trek Day is the day that it first aired.
First air, probably.
Yeah.
Makes
So
sense.
there might be something around that time. I forget what day it is in September, but
I have no
speaking
idea.
of September, so any other thoughts on the first episode of Lower Decks?
I am trying to think if I had any other thoughts, but I don't.
All right. Well,
no, I think we covered it all. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think we covered.
I
I mean,
think-
we covered the major points of it. Yeah, I do agree that there was a little bit of. I mean, there was a little repetition of character moments, but at least they're consistent. At least they're consistent. I do want to see the characters evolve and grow. I do think that we got that in season 1, where this character relationships change over time. I did, I have listened to other podcasts where some of them felt like this is kind of like a reset. Going from the fallout from the finale of season 1 to basically the status quo of what was before. I can kind of see that. I mean, like, I'm interested to see where they take the Boimler piece of it, because that's like the biggest variable that is operating in this equation right now. But
you'll have answers by the end of the episode.
by end of episode 2?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
There are answers. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And we'll talk about them next week.
Okay. Well, there we are.
There.
Cool.
Well, September's coming up and our 1-year anniversary is coming up too. So
All right.
it's all right. It's more than all right.
It's very exciting.
It's very exciting. So we are going to be doing a giveaway, and we'll have more details of that in the future weeks.
I think I need more details about what we're doing.
Well, we've only talked briefly about it, but we'll have some giveaways, and yeah, we will give you more details about that, but that's coming up in
some
September.
sort of swag,
Some sort of
tchotchkes.
swag. Yes.
paraphernalia. Yes, things.
Yes. We're gonna give away your pocketbook collection.
Oh, I did what? So the one thing I still do have on my bookshelf, and I was going to bring it to, and I didn't.
You didn't.
But just so our listeners know, the only Star Trek books I have with me would be the Star Trek Encyclopedia, TNG, like the TNG era kind of Star Trek Encyclopedia, first edition, and then the TNG Tech Manual. And I was going to bring the Tech Manual to Vegas because Denise Makokuda and Rick Sternbeck were going to be there, but I didn't bother. I was going to have them sign it, but I was like, it's okay. I don't want to pack something else.
Well, Mike and Denise did not do any autographs.
But we saw them in the hallway.
We did see them in the hallway.
And they did have a panel.
Yeah, when we got to the panel, they had already departed. But so they
why did we go to that one?
I think it was for the next one. Maybe.
Oh no, I'm saying why didn't we go to theirs?
I think we were running late that morning, to be
okay,
honest.
right.
Yeah. We weren't rushing.
Okay.
So yeah. Yeah.
Well, there it is.
There it is. Mine are still in storage. I have the original, not the original. I have a copy of the Starfleet manual. I also have the Enterprise tech manual and the next generation tech manual.
Mm-hmm. The original Enterprise tech manual.
Yeah, it's the blue one. It's Mr. Scott's Guide to the Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
So I still have that somewhere, and I have a collection of pocketbooks that are probably my favorites. I think over time I've shedded the less than favorites and I just kept my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
They're all in storage. I do need to go get them at some point.
I don't know. I have so many of them back at my parents' house.
Yeah, maybe you should pack them up and take them to Chicago, and you can sell them. Sell them. You can have a vendor table.
I have a lot actually. It's like, yeah. I'm trying to think which ones I would even want to keep. Imzadi, of course.
Imzadi. We did not see that. I wonder if we had found Imzadi 2, whether you would have gotten it or not.
Imzadi 2, Love Triangle.
Love Triangle.
Oh, did you ever read Vendetta? That was a good one.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. I read Vendetta, the Borg one, right?
Yeah, the Borg one.
I can't tell you anything about it, but I know that I did.
It was with Guinan was in it, and then there was someone else.
Wasn't it an alternate universe?
No, it was Prime. The Planet Killer was in it.
Oh, okay.
There were fragments. There were just fragments.
Yeah, you're really good about remembering details like that. I am actually currently reading the newest Picard novel, Rogue Elements.
Oh, what the hell was that?
It's about Rios.
Okay, great.
And happens before Picard. It happens in 2491. Is it 24?
2391.
Is it 2391? Yeah.
Well, Picard happens in 2399.
No, it doesn't. It happens in 2386.
Picard? No, it's
the burn, not the burn. The explosion of the sun Romulan sun happens in 2386.
2380s, yes, but then Picard takes place in 2399.
Yes, this is before Picard. This is 2391, and now they just switched over to 2392.
Okay.
So it's actually really good. It's actually really enjoyable. You really get a sense of Rios, and Rafi's in there on the communicator, but it's really around Rios and kind of his adventures and things. So it's actually really good. I'm enjoying it. So John Jackson Miller. That's the other thing. Speaking of which, there weren't really any authors there either. And I know that I think is it Dragon Con is the big author one in outside of DC, I think, convention, but there weren't any there weren't any author tables there per se. That was another thing that's sort of missing or missed opportunity. I don't know, or maybe no one. Maybe they don't come.
I don't know. It's kind of niche, relatively, I think.
Maybe. So anyway, so we've got our 1 year anniversary coming up. We've got more
Yay.
Lower Decks coming up. We're hoping for an announcement maybe on Star Trek Day in September of what is next after Lower Decks, and we know that Discovery is still filming. So we know that Michael Burnham and Doug Jones.
September 8th,
September 8th. Okay.
Star Trek Day.
That's coming up.
Original series COS premiered on September 8th, 1966.
Yep.
There we
So
are.
we got that coming up, and yeah, so we're still waiting on more news, but and unfortunately, you know, like you said, this Vegas conference just didn't have any of that kind of newsiness because it's no longer official Star Trek.
I mean, they couldn't even have like an official Lower Deck screening. It kind of had to be like, oh, it's a Lower Deck celebration, and we'll happen to screen it. Kind of.
Yeah, which we weren't there. We had already watched it anyway, but yeah.
It's like,
So yeah, that's all I've got for this week. Let's I think we've been going for almost an hour at this point.
Correct.
So let's wrap this up for this week. Next week we'll talk about more Lower Decks.
Do you want to talk about our sponsor?
Oh, I already did, but yes, we can definitely talk about our sponsor. So,
Well, we didn't give away the promo code. The promo
we did
code that
not.
no one knows
You
about,
are
and everyone needs to talk about it every week.
That is true. So you're right. I did give a huge shout out about all the pins you can get from fansets.com. And John and Lou and the team at Fansets are awesome people, and they make really incredible pins. And
yeah, I don't collect pins, but I can still admire the workmanship.
yeah,
They're
I
good.
mean, and their display
They're very
was
solid.
great. There's so many sets to choose from. And so many new pins coming out, including some of the ones I mentioned that I get to pick up at the convention. But
Correct.
yeah, definitely we want you all to go to fansets.com, pick a bunch of pins from your favorite series, and put it into the cart
And pay for it.
and pay for it.
But before you pay for it, use our promo code.
Yes, our promo code is DS Pride, all caps, all one word, and you'll get 10% off your order. And if you order more than $30 worth of pins, you'll get free shipping in the US. So go check them out. They're awesome people. They're an awesome company. We are so grateful that they sponsor Deep Space Pride and the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. And I'm excited to see them again in Chicago. And, you know, yeah, so please go support them. They are awesome. So thanks to Fansets for supporting our podcast and for being really awesome people.
Thanks, Fansets.
There we go. All right.
Cool. Well,
All right,
Mike,
well,
it was great talking to you. I'm
yeah,
glad we got a chance to
well-
catch up after having spent so much time together. But you know,
Yes.
it's never enough.
We talk almost every day.
I understand. All right.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Deep Space Pride is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.
Coconut.